Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. A shout out to drone enthusiasts everywhere, and as always a shout out to all of my friends at the Drone Seekers. Hey, got the Mavic Mini today. This morning DJI released a firmware update for this little guy, so we're going to try it out. I'm going to show you that update process right now. Okay everybody, we have a new version of firmware that was released for the Mavic Mini today. It is the same number as what you see on my screen here, 01.00, except rather than 0.02, it is 0.0300. Now my Mini did not automatically update, so I'm going to see if I can force an update on the About page here, clicking Check for Updates. And it is indeed telling me new firmware is available, so I'm going to click Update. And again, click Update. So it's downloading. Looks like it's going really fast here. So, oh, it's already on the installing. So it's downloaded and is already on the installation part. So let's see how long this takes. 39 megabits, and you can see the changelog here. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get out and fly. Okay, so it looks like the update was successful. That took a while. That took probably a good 10 minutes or so for it to complete that entire update. While it's doing the update, you'll see the aircraft turn on and off a few times, and then you'll see the the lights on top of the remote controller blink in some weird ways, and obviously the light on the back of the aircraft blinking different colors and different ways, and that's perfectly normal. I noticed that on this particular update, the aircraft ends in the off position, so it's turned off when this update is complete, and then the remote controller, however, is still on, and it's flashing lights telling me it's looking for a connection. So I'm going to shut that down, and yeah, the update is then complete. So we're going to get off this page, and we're going to connect to the aircraft again. And we do get the message that the Mini firmware was updated successfully. So I'm going to connect to the aircraft. Yeah, it's kind of doing it automatically. So I'm going to click on Go Fly, and I want to show you we're obviously not going to fly in the house here, but I'm going to show you and look at the return to home altitude, which was one of the things that had been an issue in the past. So I'm going to move that up to 45, and when I fire that up in the field, we'll see if that stays. That was one of the changes they made in the app, unrelated to this update, so I'm anxious to see if that works. But more importantly, we're going to click on About here, and it does indeed show us the updated firmware to 1.00.0300. So just for the fun of it, I'm going to check the FlySafe database too. And it's telling me that my firmware is up to date, so that's good. So what that database is it tells you where the no-fly zones are, etc. So we're all updated, and I'm going to take the little Mavic Mini out in the field and fly, and we'll try some of this stuff out.
Please check it on the map.
So now that you've seen the process, it takes a little while, but it's pretty painless. For the beginners out there, for the people who've never done that before, as I stated earlier, the aircraft will turn on and off a few times and so forth, but that's all perfectly normal. You'll know that you've updated when you look at that About tab and you see the firmware version v0300.0300. So, the bigger question for all of us that have been flying this guy, what does that do? Well, many of us, in fact probably virtually all of us, have seen that aircraft power insufficient warning. I saw it on my very first flight right out here at Heroes Park with this guy. And it's concerning, right? You're worrying if something drastic is going to be wrong with the aircraft. So what DJI has said they've done is that they've optimized propulsion system status prompts. So we'll see what that means when we get it in the air, see what happens. We'll test it out with some full throttle flying and see what, if we get any warnings or whatever. And then they also said they increased flight stability. I have to tell you, this is a stable little bird. So I know some people have said, you know, I've noticed a little shaking, like particularly if there's any wind. So we'll take a look at that, although I never considered that a big problem with the Mini. Any of you that have watched Potato Jet's early video on the Mavic Mini where he was up at higher elevation, he had some problems with it. So they also say that they have optimized performance when taking off in areas of high elevation. Not sure what that means. We're only about, I don't know, 2,300 feet above sea level here, so you know, it's not a big deal where we're at right now. And optimized aircraft orientation control, and I think that has to do with that little graph at the bottom of the screen that supposedly would tell you where the aircraft was in relationship to the remote control. I noticed that it was off, and it didn't make much sense to me. I know other people talked about it, but we'll take a look at that and we'll see. I believe that's what they're talking about there, and we'll see if that's corrected. And then the other thing they said is that they optimized the gimbal control. Now that I have noticed, if you look at the last, maybe it wasn't the last one before, where I'm flying the Mini above the Boise River, it was a fairly cold day and you saw some shaking, some very, very minute shaking with the gimbal. And then I've had situations where the gimbal, and my friend Ron Brown had the same problem, the gimbal would drop in high wind situations. So maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know, but let's hope that that kind of thing is corrected. And then they said there's an issue about the remote controller model number showing incorrectly. Honestly, that's nothing that I've ever noticed. I assume that that's probably the difference between the European version and the US version. So evidently they've corrected that. So yeah, with that, let's just get this little guy up and fly it, and we'll check this stuff out. Okay guys, I've got everything fired up here, the drone, the controller, and the app, and it's telling us we're ready for takeoff. Let's just take a quick look. Yeah, so you can see on the RC firmware there, we've got the newest firmware, so that's good. You're seeing 93% battery. That's because I use that battery for the update, etc. So this is not a battery test. So anyway, want to take a look at the video? Yep, we're on 2.7K, 30 frames per second. We're going to start video now. And we might as well take off here, and yeah, probably the first thing we'll do after takeoff is check the stability. So yeah, you guys can see the aircraft there. It's looking pretty stable. I've got my Hero 7 here, so we'll fire that up and we'll take a little closer look at the drone. So, as you can see, I don't think it gets much more stable than that. Although, I'm going to say, you know, I didn't think it was unstable before, so that's pretty good. So, alright. So I'd say, yeah, we shut it down there. I'd say we've established that, you know, it's pretty stable. So let's take it out for a flight. Let's yaw around here, and you can see the gimbal in action there. Let's bring it in a little bit. See how close we can get to the camera here. I know there's limits to what the camera will. So now we have a little breeze come up, and you see it kind of bobbling around a little bit. But that's normal in a breeze. Let's yaw around. So there's a yaw. That's in P mode. Let's back it up a little bit, and let's do our usual up and away shot here. So reverse and up. And boy, I have to tell you, this thing is phenomenal. I lowered the camera there so we could get a better look. it really, boy, if every drone flew as precisely and as smooth as this, it would be a pleasure, let me tell you. Okay, so we're up in the air a little bit. And hey, I also wanted to mention, you guys that saw me out here the other day, just a couple days ago, there was snow on the ground here. Well, it's warmed up significantly, and that snow has pretty much melted off. You can see they're still working on the street over there. But let's go out to this corner. I am full stick forward in P mode. And you know, we're about 7 meters per second though. It's going up. We'll probably hit 8, yeah, we're over 8 meters per second. Yeah, so it does seem a little bit faster. So let's turn around and go the other way. Go to the opposite corner of the park. And what I'm going to do, in order to test that power insufficient warning, I'm going to go full pitch forward and then full ascent. So both the right and the left stick straight up. So full pitch forward, and now full ascent. Yeah, and that would have got us that insufficient power warning previously. And there's nothing there. So let's drop it down again. And by the way, the other thing that I'm noticing is that graph at the bottom there seems to be fairly accurate. You guys will, that'll be a good tattletale. You guys will be able to tell when I don't have the remote pointed at the drone. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to flip it over into sport mode. And sport mode is where you would more often see that power, aircraft power insufficient warning. So I'm going to go full forward here, full pitch forward. And it's going pretty darn fast. Look at that, we're getting up. So now I'm going to hit full ascent right now. So we are full on both sticks. And so I think we can safely say that issue with that problem as far as those power warnings, that just seems to be gone. So let's turn around. Ooh, that was a pretty quick yaw there. I forgot I was in sport mode. Let's, in fact, I don't see why we can't head across the street here. Looks like we've got a clearing there, so. And I'm going to tell you, this graph seems pretty accurate now. So let's go out into the field that we fly in quite often across the street here. So, wow, I really like the way they have absolutely fixed the graph at the bottom of the screen there. I am pointed directly at the drone, and that is the exact direction the drone is going. We're at about, yeah, we're traveling at about 12 meters per second, so that's probably about 25, 26 miles an hour, something like that. So we'll go out to the corner of the empty field here. And I'm full stick forward and no power warnings. Seems to be, it looks to me like they have clearly solved that problem. So we're going to go out 1 click or 1 kilometer. And there we go. There's no point in going any further than that. I just wanted to show you that it can do it. And the other thing that I want to point out is that, you know, the drone handles that perfectly, no dropouts. The FPV is good, perfectly smooth. Yeah, I mean, it's just a pleasure. You know, the Parrot Anafi is one of my favorite drones, but honestly, you would have had a lot of dropouts with that. So I'm going to hit the return to home button here on the controller, and let's get it to come home. I don't think I held it long enough. There we go. So there it says returning home. So now, some of my viewers told me that we could stop that beeping by pressing the button once. And you know what? They're right, but it also stopped the return to home. You know, I've had that suspicion before, so I'm just manually flying it back here. I don't want you to have to listen to that beep all the way back. But yeah, if you press that button again, all it does is cancel return to home. So I thought that, oh, look at me, I was facing away from the drone. Yeah. So you saw that Class E airspace warning come up on the screen there. This is actually, we are probably, I don't know, a good 10 or 12 miles, maybe even more, from the Gowan Field airport. But this is kind of over the flyway of aircraft coming into the airport. But trust me, when they're this far out, that Class C gives you a 400-foot limitation. We are well under that. And yeah, looks like our timing is good. We're going to go right in between these cars. And then aircraft that are out this far, trust me, they're way up there. In fact, I hear a jet up there right now. So gosh, I'm just sitting here thinking, you know, we're bringing the drone back into us. Let's see if we can bring it to a stop here. And boy, did it throw on the brakes. That was cool. So, what now? I think gosh, so the gimbal seems like it's been perfectly good this whole time. You know, just for the fun of it, I think we should, you know, while we're at it, let's go into some of the intelligent flight modes. So I'm going to stop video, and we're going to go into quick shots. And you know, the drone one always comes up there, but we can do that. But I like that helix. Let's do the helix, and we're going to set the max radius, which is 40 meters. And let's see if the drone can stay on me. Now, I'm next to this picnic shelter. And in the past, that's created problems for the drone. But I think it's high enough here. We're gonna miss everything, and it's going to raise altitude. So you see it counting down there. And we're in sport mode too, so I also kind of want to see if it actually executes it any faster when it's in sport mode. I don't think it does. Now look, see, I'm about to get blocked by so that threw it. And what's it doing now? I don't know. I'm stopping it. Yeah, because the drone, and that's one of the problems I have with this thing. So the drone just kind of it lost its circle there. Once it lost me, it lost its circle. So I see that as an issue. And because you don't want your drone when it's in an automated flight mode like that. I had to actually physically tell it to stop. So, you know, that's a problem. If you were next to a taller tree or a building or something like that, you know, you were kind of figuring out what your circle or your helix would be, and you knew it would clear that. Well, if that drone loses sight of you, you saw what it did just then. It just kind of went off on its own way. So I'm just telling you, there are limitations to the intelligent flight modes on this drone. Just keep that in mind. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a defect. I think the drone is working within its parameters. Although I will say, what I would rather have it do is once it loses sight of its point of interest, the target, that it would just go into a hover at that point. That would be the safe way to do it. So hopefully DJI will do something about that. So anyway, let's bring it back here. And I'm gonna go out in the field, and we'll try that again where it can keep sight of me. Okay, so there's no wind, so the audio on my iPhone will work very well here. Bring it in here a little bit. And look at that, it's already trying to put a target on me, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that, and we're going to hit start.
3, 2, 1.
And here she goes. The Helix is really fun. This is one of my favorite intelligent flight modes. And what the drone's doing now is, as it's circling me, it's ascending in height. And one of the things, and there, look at it, it lost me even though I was in the open. So, but although this time it maintained its circle, it didn't go off in any kind of weird direction. But it's pretty clear that it kind of lost the lock on the point of interest. But it performed okay. So I think that last time it was almost like it was searching for another point of interest. So the other thing that's cool is now it will return to, it's one of the things I really like that DJI built into this. The drone returns to its original spot. So where it took off from, where you initiated that intelligent, whatever the quick shot was, it returns to that exact spot. So, alrighty. So we're there. Let's find something else to do here. So let's do a rocket. I like the rocket, and we're gonna set maximum on that as well. And the drone. So I'm kind of interested to see how it. I probably need to bring it in a little bit more, I'll bet you. Part of the problem is I'm initiating this probably further away than you would normally want to do it. Okay, let's hit that plus. And it's got me. Let's start.
3, 2.
And I like the countdown.
1.
But just remember, if you're doing any of these quick shots, during the course of that quick shot, you need to make sure you are not in a space where the drone will lose track of you. In other words, that it can't physically see you, because this appears to be purely an optical control. In other words, some drones will use the remote control or GPS to keep track of the point of interest. For instance, the Xeno, you can set it either way. You can have it do it optically by drawing a square around something, or you can set the remote control as the point of interest. And it's pretty handy. So, okay, we're down to 30% battery. I am going to get out of here, and we're going to go back into video. Well, and we are going to start video, and we're going to go up and away. And that's far enough. Let's stop right there. Let's, you know what I haven't done a lot with this drone, and I've got it in sport mode. I'm going to go back into Cinesmooth there. Cinesmooth mode. That is a great mode for when you want to really take some good cinematic pictures. So it really, I'm noticing here, it really slows down the yaw. You saw me jerking the bird around with the yaw there. So just for the fun of it here, I am going to I'm going to face the drone kind of away from the sun to get the best effect. And let's stop video, and let's go into photo, and let's take a picture. I'm going to raise the gimbal up just a little bit. You know what? I'm going to center it on off in the distance there. You see an LDS temple, and that makes probably a good center for the shot there. So let's take a picture. And weather's kind of interesting. You see, partly cloudy here today, but you know, 2 days ago this was covered with snow and it was really cold, so it's warmed a lot. In fact, I've got my jacket on. I'm almost too warm. So let's go back into video. I took that picture because Ron Brown always tells me I don't take enough pictures. So we got the video started, and then let's go ahead and do a return to home, and I am going to initiate that on the app. And let's see how close the drone will get to. Yeah, we're down to 20% battery as it is. So let's see how close the drone we'll get to its landing pad here. And I'm gonna, when we took off, I didn't have this low enough. So I got it low enough now that we should be able to see it. And I'll stop it if it looks like it's going to mow the grass or something. I'll stop it. But I know this drone does not have precision landing, so that is not one of the features on this drone. But we want to see how close it'll get. I'll drop the gimbal down here a little. Yeah, we're probably out in the grass there. Okay, I'm going to stop that landing. And we'll pick up the gimbal. Yeah, and it's screaming at me. It wants to come home. So let's just do a manual landing here. I've told you guys before, my depth perception isn't the best, so I'm going to walk up here to... See, I took it out there too far, so let's see. That's got to be pretty darn close. I'm just going to pull down on the stick, and it will land.
Landing.
Okie dokie. Solid landing there. So let me shut everything down, and we will do a quick conclusion. Oh, I also want to mention, so I still have video going here. Stop video. I've had it where I've turned off the drone first, and you ended up with a corrupted video file that doesn't play. Now, what's worked for me also with this drone is if you fire the drone back up, start video again, shut it off, and it'll close out the file that was corrupted as well. So that's a cure that's worked for me with this drone in the past. But the best thing to do is just to remember to turn off video, and we're doing that right now. Okay, so in conclusion here, we did a firmware update on the little Mavic Mini, and I'm not going to repeat that number again. It's out there. The point of the update was to, we'll just go over them one at a time, increase flight stability in some scenarios. It's not a drone that I ever thought was unstable. What we did right here showed a perfectly stable drone, so whatever they did or felt they needed to do there appears to be successful to me. Now the next one is even more important. They optimized the propulsion system status prompts. That was the aircraft power insufficient warning that much of us were getting, and there was another warning, I can't remember, it said something underpowered drone. I can't remember what that one said, but there were a couple different power warnings. So you saw me in sport mode and in P mode doing full ascent, full throttle, and none of those warnings came up. Now, we got little to no wind here today, so you know we weren't fighting any wind, but the drone did not give us any of those power warnings that we otherwise would have seen. I mean, I was seeing them in P mode. I think one time I even got one in cinematic mode, you know, when I hit the throttle. So I'm glad they corrected that. Because a lot of new flyers buy this drone, I can see how that would panic somebody, right? They take it up and they get that warning and they're worried that the thing is going to fall from the sky. So I'm glad they fixed that. Optimize performance when taking off in areas of high elevation. Obviously, we're not high enough here that we could test that. I'm not even sure exactly what they mean by that, other than we saw Potato Jet's video where the drone kept sinking. He couldn't give it enough power to get it up in the air. So I assume that that's what they're talking about. Now the next one, this is another big one, optimized aircraft orientation control. They fixed it. It's really good. So if you look at that little graph at the bottom of the screen where you have the arc and you have the picture of the aircraft, the pointy end is the direction the aircraft is going, and then the orientation of your remote control is shown on there too, where the aircraft is within the orientation of your remote control. That works great. I remember when I've been flying it earlier and I couldn't figure that out. I thought I just wasn't interpreting it right or something. I go, I really don't understand that. But they fixed it, so it works as you would expect it to. In other words, when the drone is right in front of you and pointing away from you, it's going to show that little triangle with the point of it directly away from you. So that's a good deal. Optimized gimbal control. Now, I talked about the problems I've had with the gimbal in the past. Really don't have any wind here today, so it's probably not a full test, but I didn't see any issues. When we get the video, we'll look and see if there's any shaking on there, but I sure didn't see it on FPV, so I think it's fine. And then the other one was the remote controller model number. Yeah, I don't know. That's nothing that I was ever too worried about. So that's about it. We also did a couple of quick shots, and I kind of gave you an idea of what the limitations are of the quick shots on this drone. So particularly if during that quick shot, if it's going to lose sight of you, in fact, I just wouldn't do it if that's the case. In other words, if you're standing next to something, next to a tree, or like in this case, I'm next to this picnic shelter, during that helix, it lost sight of me, and then the drone just kind of went wild, went on its own way. So I hit the X and stopped it. Now, I was prepared for that. So if you were next to a tree or a building or something like that, you wouldn't want that drone to kind of go off on its own and hit something. There's no obstacle avoidance on this thing, so it doesn't know where it's at. It would fly right into something. So I'm just going to say exercise caution. If you're going to do any of those quick shots, make sure you're in an open area where it can do its thing, and it'll be fine. And the other thing is, you noticed when I did those quick shots, I had the drone, I can't remember how far away from me it was, but it was a ways away, and I was able to start them. But during the course of the quick shot, it would lose me, so because it would go too far away. So I also think that initiating those quick shots with the drone closer to you is probably smarter. I don't think there's anything wrong with the software. I think that it's just that there are limited parameters with which those quick shots will work. Now, what I would rather see happen is if the drone lost the point of interest, which is you or whatever, that it would go into a hover rather than, like you saw, it just kind of took off there. So hopefully that's something DJI can update. But yeah, other than that, we had a really good flight today. So gosh, I guess that's about it. This is Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out. And if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. But you know, most of all, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And we will see you on the next one. The little Mavic Mini. What a fun drone, man. Highly recommended. All right, see ya.